What's going on, guys? In this episode, you're going to learn 5 insights that business owners and online entrepreneurs should learn to leverage in 2021. Let's go.
In a world where ad costs are continually rising and prospects are getting more and more skeptical about who they can trust, how can you reach new people in a way that's authentic and effective? A place where you can build trust at scale and convert skeptical prospects into raving fans and clients. Hey, my name is Luis Diaz, and you're listening to the Podcast Domination Show, the place for entrepreneurs and businesses that want to know how to build a podcast that helps them grow their business, get more clients, and build their brand. I appreciate your time. Thanks for joining me.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Podcast Domination Show video version. If you're listening to this or watching this on YouTube or maybe on Facebook, wherever we're going to put this. So today we're going to cover 5 things that if you capitalize on them, you will be better off at the end of this year than if you did not capitalize on them and you're one of the people or one of the persons who did not listen to this episode or take this advice and actually implement it. So there's a lot of changes right now happening in the podcasting space. So I am of the belief that if you are sleeping on these changes, then you're going to be leaving potential revenue on the table, potential growth on the table. You're going to be leaving a lot of things on the table. And if one of your main traffic sources is podcasting, or you want it to be, if you're looking to diversify your income or diversify your lead flow, then this is going to be super important for you because it's going to give you some different tools to use to do that. So that's why this is a really important episode. So I think you're going to really benefit from it if that's you, if you have a podcast or you're looking to launch one and you want to be in the best position possible to grow it, monetize it, and scale it. All right. So I've got my notes here in front of me. So the first thing, I'm going to give you 5 key tips and I'm going to give you 2 bonus tips as well. And that way you guys will come away with a lot of things to do or a lot of action steps, hopefully, out of this episode. But the first thing here is the new app called Clubhouse, which I'm sure if you're not on it already, you probably are heard about it, at least by the time of this recording. And Clubhouse is a really interesting place to be right now. I'm going to be doing my first Clubhouse on Thursday. At the time of this recording, it's early January. So we'll see how it goes, but I really think that this is going to be a platform that's going to be either a place that's going to be a podcast recording, kind of almost like a live recording. I don't know what to call it. A live recording place. We'll call it that. That you can go and you can actually interview people and also have an audience there. Now, I don't know logistics of how it's going to work, but I see that coming in the future. I don't think it's going to overtake podcasting because you still, from my knowledge, you can't listen to past recordings, so that's kind of a bummer. But you're going to be able to create content on there and also have a community on there. And obviously, when new platforms like this strike up, they give a lot of kind of first movers advantage to the people who take advantage of it and they use it a lot and they get engagement and they get more people spending more time. So if you are already on Clubhouse, I see a huge potential benefit in actually being able to do your podcast there live. And actually maybe even having a Q&A section at the end. I think that's really important. So a really cool thing you can do there. So that's the first thing to capitalize on in 2021. The second thing here is Podchaser. So if you don't know what Podchaser is, it is a directory, kind of like an Apple or a Spotify, but Podchaser has a huge Rolodex of podcasts. They have the contact information for millions or hundreds of thousands, even probably millions of podcasts. And the benefit of that now is that they're actually going to be selling that information. They're selling the contact information for all of these podcasts. So I think it was like $1 to $3 grand, somewhere around there. Can't confirm exact numbers, but that's like the average price range I'm seeing when it comes to being able to access that data. So if you're somebody who wants to get on a bunch of podcasts or you're somebody who wants to leverage that to grow your own show, some of our clients are actually looking into leveraging this and we're kind of helping them through that. And that's a huge opportunity because you're going to be able to get the data or the contact information to go straight to these people and see if you can get on their show or do a collaboration or something. So that's the second big thing there. Podchaser is starting to open up their platform for potentially being able to buy all that data, which is important, and it's actually really, really valuable for the right person. So that's the second one. The third one is new ad growth. So new growth through ad platforms, specifically for podcasting ads. So there's been a big problem in the industry for many years of, you've got your podcast, but how do I grow this thing, right? It's not as easy as scaling Facebook ads because there's nothing, you can't really go anywhere before that now to really buy ads unless you were a very big network or you had someone with very deep pockets where you could afford like pay-per-click advertising for your podcast. So a couple of sites have started some like done for you or even easy to buy ad services, much like Overcast did a few years ago. A couple of them to note though are Podcast Republic and Podcast Addict, as well as a place called EarplugPR, which by the time of this recording, my episode with Daniel Page from EarplugPR, the founder, has already come out. So go check that episode out on the Podcast Domination Show. It's a really good one. He's a really smart guy. So that's another service you can use to tap into to grow your podcast. All right. So Podcast Republic, EarplugPR, Podcast Addict last year, they came out with a new ad platform. So you're able to grow your listenership if you've got the money to spend right away fast. We've seen some great results with this for clients when we've ran campaigns for our own clients, and they've been able to pick up, upwards of 700 subscribers in just 30 days. So it can work for the right person and for the right type of, if you're an aggressive business owner, entrepreneur, you've got the funds to shell out and you want to grow, this is for you. That was the third one. The fourth one, which is an interesting one that happened just at the beginning of the year, and that was very end of last year, and that is Amazon buying Wondery. So Wondery is basically a production company that produces podcasts, very high quality podcasts. Amazon bought them for around, I think, $300 million, if that's correct, what I was reading the other day. And that means they're in the race now. They're trying to get into the race with Spotify and Apple, trying to be this big, conglomerate of really good podcasts that you can only get if you subscribe or if you have like an Amazon Prime account. So that's the play that they're doing, which is going to make it really interesting for us as podcasters because we're going to see probably other podcasts get scooped up. If you have a huge show and you've got a very big audience, then guess what? You potentially could even get scooped up by one of these big companies and have a nice big check. So that's not for the majority of you. That's a very small percentage of people, but it is possible. So that's the cool thing about this. A lot more. I think you're going to see that too. A lot more of these bigger companies buying these, just basically buying these media assets to just get the audience. They're just buying traffic, just like buying paid ads, right? So that's the fourth thing there. That's a really interesting play. I think you're going to see a lot more of that this year. What that means for most podcasters is really just, hey, there's an incentive for building a big audience at the end of the day. It's going to take a huge amount of listeners to get someone's attention like an Amazon, but it is possible. And the last thing here I'm going to leave you with on this short episode is Spotify buying Megaphone, which has kind of happened a little bit like November time of last year, I think. But why that's important is because Megaphone is a company, if you don't know, that has a ad platform for podcasters. Now, to my knowledge, before it costed quite a decent amount of money. You had to be a pretty big show to start using Megaphone, or for it to make sense for you to use Megaphone. And I may not be 100% right, but I had some friends on there who had a relatively large podcast to where it made sense for them, but in most cases, from what I was told, it didn't make sense for most people. However, Megaphone has technology that can allow people to do some pretty advanced advertising or ad buying, basically. So we're looking at think of Facebook type of targeting, Facebook ad type of targeting, and that level of tracking and reporting now inside of Spotify. I mean, that's what that's the trend they're going to. They want to be able to revolutionize the ad game. So that means for you as a podcaster or an ad buyer or an online business owner who is looking to scale with podcasting, this could be, I don't know if it's going to be in 2021, but this could be a a potential way to get in front of more listeners. So just keep a lookout for that. If you haven't tested or looked at Spotify ads already, I suggest you check it out and go just run some campaigns and test it out, just to see how to do it and just kind of get your hands dirty a little bit. We've ran some campaigns on there and they've been okay, but it's still very, very new. So it's one of those things, kind of like Facebook ads in early days where people really didn't know what they were doing, nor did people know what to click on. So with Spotify, it's kind of like that right now. But I see it getting much better with this whole, with Spotify buying Megaphone, because Megaphone already had the technology to do a lot of this stuff. So the last two things I'll leave you with. The last two things I will leave you with here is number one, there's a company called Listennotes, and you've listened to this podcast, you've probably heard me talk about that a lot, or that company before, Listennotes. My screen went blank. There we go. And they have, again, the ability to buy data and also put out things like, hey, I'm looking for sponsors, or hey, I'm looking for guests, or hey, I'm looking for cross promotions. So I wouldn't sleep on that stuff. I still think that's a good platform to be on. And if you're somebody who has a team, you can, get your assistant or get your team members to start to learn, listen to some of these past episodes where I talk about Listennotes, and start to learn how to leverage that. If you just go on the platform and learn what they have available, you'll see a lot of the things. They're similar to Podchaser, where they are able to sell the data from other podcasters, which is really cool. So if you're looking to get like all of the health and fitness podcasts that have produced one episode in the past month, you can buy a list of those. And you can get all their names and emails and Facebook links and all that stuff. And then you can have a nice spreadsheet of all the people you could reach out to if you're maybe a company or a sponsor who wants to find some podcasts to get on. All right. The last thing here is something I've been telling my clients this a lot lately too, and even we talk about this in the Profit Ready Launch program, which is the importance of a hook. So hooks now more than ever in podcasting are super important. And the reason why is because there's obviously more noise in the marketplace. There's actually more podcasts coming in every day. So the bigger it gets, the more noisy it is, the harder it is to cut through the clutter. You need to have a really good hook for your podcast. So that's hugely important. So if you haven't studied copywriting, I would suggest checking out, looking at some blogs or looking at some podcasts on copywriting, because that is going to be super important. Even though podcasting is an audio platform, the ability to write good headlines, good descriptions, good titles is critical as we get more and more crowded. So that's it. Those are the 7 insights for marketers and business owners in 2021. I'll see you later. Peace.